PlayStation Studios has more than 25 exclusives in development. Can we name them all? Let's find out. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are taking a stab at trying to list the more than 25 exclusives PlayStation Studios has in development. That is according to PlayStation Studios boss Hermen Hulst in an interview back in May with Wired.com. For complete context, I'm going to bring up the article now and read through the exact quote. It goes, according to Hermen Hulst, a Guerrilla co-founder whom PlayStation boss Jim Ryan tapped to lead PlayStation Studios in 2019, the group has more than 25 titles in development for the PS5, nearly half of which are entirely new IP. Quote, there's an incredible amount of variety originating from different regions, Hulst says, big, small, different genres, end quote. Two important things to keep in mind. More than 25 titles in development from PlayStation Studios. So this doesn't include exclusive deals that PlayStation has with other third-party publishers like Kena Bridge of Spirits, which is dropping later this year, which is developed and published by Ember Lab themselves. It also doesn't include exclusivity deals with the likes of Final Fantasy XVI and Forspoken, which are being published by Square Enix. So important to keep that in mind. Only first-party and first-party published games they're talking about here. Also, keeping in mind, nearly half of these are entirely new IP. So when we go down the list of the different studios and different projects that are in the works, we can get an understanding of what sequels might be on their way or entries in existing franchises and what new IPs might be coming as well. So we'll jump over now to PlayStation Studios or PlayStation.com and take a look at the studios. As we know, there are 13 development studios within the PlayStation Studios family. We have Bend, Guerrilla, Insomniac, Team Asobi, London, Media Molecule, Naughty Dog, San Diego, Santa Monica, Sucker Punch, Pixel Opus, Polyphony, and XDev, who are the collaborative publishing arm of PlayStation Studios, similar to Xbox Game Studios Publishing, in that they work with third-party partners to develop games exclusively published by PlayStation Studios for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So we see relationships like that with let's think, Destruction All Stars earlier this year, made by a non-PlayStation owned studio but published exclusively by them. So that's an example there. So I thought what we'd do is take a look at what are the existing games that are in development that we know of, what are games that we know that are definitely coming based on recent reports or updates from these studios, games that we can surmise are on their way or assume that are on their way, and also just take a stab at what else might be coming as well. So it's important to note that this Wired article, this Wired report, dropped in May as well. So I'm going to include something like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which was still in development even though it just shipped earlier just a few weeks ago. So we'll keep that in mind as well. So the confirmed titles that we know that are coming from PlayStation Studios: God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We know The Last of Us Factions is on the way, the multiplayer portion. We have Gran Turismo 7. I think those are the definitely confirmed PlayStation Studios exclusives on their way. We know that Insomniac is working on a multiplayer game. They just posted job postings on their Twitter for that, hiring for a new multiplayer project. So we know that that's on their way. We know that Bend is also working on a new IP. That's something they confirmed not too long ago, saying that obviously they're not working on Days Gone 2, but they're working on a brand new IP. Similarly, Pixel Opus is working on a new project as well. We have Team Asobi confirming that they're building this, this franchise with global appeal. We assume it's the Astrobot franchise. Fingers crossed that it is. And we also have 3 publishing deals that were recently confirmed by PlayStation themselves in new IP from Haven, which is Jade Raymond's studio. The industry veteran who's held producer roles at Ubisoft, EA, Google Stadia beforehand. Firewalk working on a new multiplayer IP, and Deviation, which was recently confirmed at the Summer Game Fest Kickoff Live, I think it was, where they confirmed they're working on a multiplayer game for PlayStation as well. There's also all but confirmed Last of Us remake that was with the Visual Arts Service Group and now looks to be being developed internally at Naughty Dog. So in total, we're looking at 13, almost confirmed titles that are on their way from PlayStation Studios. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart obviously already shipped, but we should include that as well. So that's 13. And if we take a look at the number of new IP there, Deviation, Firewalk, Haven, Pixel Opus, maybe Project Bend. The new project from Bend Studios, definitely. I think that's 5 of the 13. Maybe Asobi is working on a new IP, but I think most people would guess that that's going to be within the Astro franchise. So we'll just have to wait and see. That's 13 exclusives that we can kind of lock in at this point. If we look at second projects from some of these developers that we know that have been hiring, Santa Monica, looking at probably releasing a new IP soon as well, based on recent job listings. Guerrilla Games also working on a different project. We know that they hired developers with multiplayer expertise in the past, so that's really exciting. That's probably a bit of a ways off, maybe, but that's definitely something that's not been confirmed, but seems to be hinting at that. I think most people would guess that Insomniac is on Spider-Man 2 as well. Miles Morales obviously released 2 years after Marvel's Spider-Man, and a bit of a sort of like side project, smaller project, definitely not as large in scope. You assume that the greater portion of the Insomniac workforce is on a proper sequel to The Amazing Spider-Man. When that comes, I'm not so sure. I would put my money probably on a late 2022, maybe halfway through 2023 released. I suppose depending on when the other big AAA titles from PlayStation launch, like God of War. Obviously that got delayed from 2021 into 2022, but depending on when Horizon Forbidden West drops, maybe God of War is a late 2022 launch. At that point, I don't think you need a Spider-Man sequel in that same window, right? I think it would behoove PlayStation to ship that maybe in the American spring of 2023, or even in the fall. Just save it and give Insomniac all the time in the world to make that game absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, there's a project that we could probably assume is on its way in the next couple of years. Ghost of Tsushima 2, I think based off the success of the first game, most people would assume that Sucker Punch is onto a sequel for that title. There was recent rumors from Special Nick over at Xbox Era stating that Ghost of Ikishima, a new standalone, as he termed it, a standalone expansion, is on its way this year apparently, and is set on the island of Iki, which is closer to mainland Japan. So that a rumor seems to be doing the rounds, and apparently that's going to be confirmed really soon. So maybe similar to something like Infamous First Light, which came after Second Son from Sucker Punch, is on its way. I'd be really excited for that, and I think I'll do a separate video, on how I really enjoy the fact that PlayStation is taking this tact with releasing sort of smaller experiences based off established assets and tech from these large productions, in order to churn out more releases more quickly, so these development periods are shorter for the teams. I think that's really smart. Completely separate video. So there's 4 other projects, bringing us up to 17. A Ghost of Tsushima sequel, Spider-Man 2, and second projects from both Santa Monica and Guerrilla Games. I think that if we run down the list of other PlayStation studios that we know are probably working on things, San Diego obviously likely to be working on the next MLB to release early next year. I think that's pretty much something you can take to the bank. We also have Media Molecule. Obviously Dreams is something they're still supporting, but I would guess that the core team is maybe prototyping their next project and working on something maybe even for PlayStation VR 2, or something just for PlayStation 5. I think that's almost a certainty at this point. And of course London, they're hiring for a AAA project. Now, most people would guess that is just for PlayStation 5. Obviously, London Studio has a great deal of experience developing for PlayStation VR, so maybe it is a AAA project for PlayStation VR in that sense. I think a lot of people might be disappointed by that, because the rumor is they're working on something non-VR related, which I think most people would be excited for. We're just going to have to wait and see, but all that speculation aside, we know they're definitely working on something new for PlayStation. And then 2 other studios that, I think many people would guess are working on PlayStation exclusives in collaboration with PlayStation Studios would be Bluepoint, obviously recently shipping the Demon's Souls remake. Rumor is, I'm not sure how true this will be, but Metal Gear Solid is the next game to be remade by then. I think that'd be really exciting. I would love to see that. And also Supermassive, they've been hiring for PlayStation or games, developed in collaboration with PlayStation a long while ago, so maybe there's something around the corner from them. That brings us up to a total of 22 that we've just listed right now, and I think it would be safe to assume that any other projects, you know, making up that total 25 or more than 25 projects, exclusive projects that are in the works, are coming from XDev collaborating with external partners. Some of them probably for PlayStation VR 2, which, you know, is said to ship at the end of 2022 as well. So look, I think that's a really strong lineup of games, and what I'm noticing here is a great variety that I know that, you know, obviously Hermen Hulst mentioned in the interview with Wired.com. You know, there was sentiment earlier this year, you know, based off the Jason Schreier Bloomberg report, that there was this a real focus from PlayStation Studios on single-player cinematic action games, open world action games, and I think to a certain extent that's true, but it's, you know, it's pretty evident from looking at this list that we're going to get still those, you know, core single player cinematic experiences that the PlayStation faithful really enjoy, but also a great deal of variety as well. We have Asobi, Pixelopus, multiplayer experiences from Firewalk and Deviation, you know, a whole heap of, you know, what we hope are really unique experiences for PlayStation VR 2 as well. I think PlayStation's lineup is looking really strong, and I'm just keen to see what the roadmap for them looks like, factoring in all these other exclusive games that are coming from third-party partners as well. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, Forspoken, Final Fantasy 16, Kena Bridge of Spirits. You also have 2 titles from Bethesda still on their way, in Deathloop later this year and Ghostwire Tokyo, which we haven't heard an update on in a while. So PlayStation, you know, definitely doesn't have a lack of content. I think it's just much less sort of clear than Xbox at this point, who have, you know, announced a bunch of exclusives that we know are dropping between now and probably the end of 2023 into 2024. So their roadmap not looking as clear as Xbox, but it is, what is definitely clear is that there's a bevy of content on the way. We just don't know when it's going to be landing, and I'm really hoping that we sort of get an understanding of what that looks like in this rumored PlayStation Experience State of Play showcase that they have coming up, hopefully sometime this American summer. The rumor is early July. Based on the fact that we're at the end of June now, we haven't heard about it. Maybe it's going to be a short communication cycle where they announce the start of the week and, you know, hit play later that week. That'd be really exciting. I've got a feeling something like this might be pushed back later in July, and I'm hoping we see updates on things like Kena, Deathloop, and whatever's coming later this year. Hopefully that Ghost of Ikishima game that's being rumored. So we're just going to have to wait and see, but I think you know, PlayStation fans have nothing to worry about in terms of the number of titles from PlayStation Studios on their way. When I look at this list, it's really exciting to me, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these titles in action. But let me know, is there something I missed in this list? Is there something I got wrong? Or I'd love to hear your feedback. Obviously, PlayStation isn't my bag as much as Xbox. I, you know, have a relatively deep understanding of what Xbox has going on, but I am keen to understand more of what PlayStation Studios is looking to publish in the near future. So if you did enjoy this content, please hit the like button and subscribe. There's going to be more on the way. We are into day 2 of the 2-week lockdown here in Sydney, Australia, so I'll be putting out more content over the coming days and doing a lot more streaming as well, which you can find in a link to in the description below. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Until next time, happy gaming.